Outside of Julio, the Mariners outfield consists of a star entering his contract year and a pair of platoons. We'll discuss how that could all work out coming up here on the Locked On Mariners podcast. Colby, hit it.
You are Locked On Mariners, your daily Seattle Mariners podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Ahoy, sailors. It is Friday, February 20th, 2026. You're listening to the Locked On Mariners podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, now the #1 sports podcast network. My name is Titan Gonzalez, and I'm joined as always by my co-host Colby Patnode. We're two lifelong Mariners fans who've been covering the team for over half a decade, and today we're previewing the Mariners outfield minus Julio. Again, we're going to do a preview specifically for Julio and Cal later next week, so we're just going to be focusing on Randy Arozarena, Dom Canzone, Luke Raley, Victor Robles, and Rob Refsnyder. We also will be announcing our next project that we're going to need your help with. But before we do all that, I want to shout out our title sponsor today, FanDuel. Use your profit boost on an NBA future and get entered for your chance to win a trip to the NBA Finals. Play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. So we kick off our outfield preview with a look at Randy Arozarena, and it was really a tale of two Randys in 2025, Colby. From opening day to the trade deadline, Randy slashed 250, 353, 470. That's a 136 WRC plus. And then from that point forward, he slashes 216, 299, 343, which is an 89 WRC plus. Yuck. And then his playoffs, pretty much the same story as well. Playoff Randy did not show up in his first opportunity with the Mariners. Yesterday, we talked about contract year JP Crawford. Now we're talking about contract year Randy Arozarena. It's his final year on his current deal, potentially his final year in Seattle. What are your expectations for Randy going into 2026?
Probably going to go 2020 again. Maybe he pushes 30-30. He's going to be a below average defender in left field. We know this already. He's going to get hit by a lot of pitches. He's going to take his walks. And yeah, it's I'm not too worried about post All-Star break or post deadline Randy or playoff Randy being the new norm for Randy Arozarena. He's back. He's going to be back down in the lineup where he belongs, sitting 4th or 5th, probably 5th. And there's going to be a lot less pressure on him to get on base ahead of, Cal and Julio. That's going to be Donovan's job and Naylor's job. So yeah, I'm really not that worried about his production. Would I expect a spike because it's his contract year and he's trying to get paid? No. I mean, I don't think you can really, I don't think you can just create a spike for yourself. I mean, you put in the work and you see what happens, but a lot of baseball is about luck, and, maybe he does look significantly better than he did last year, but the numbers are still, what they are. Like you just don't know. So I wouldn't put much value in the whole, it's a contract year thing for him, but yeah, he's a very important part of what is, we've talked about already, is a very good supporting group around the two stars that you do have. And Randy's probably the closest to being the third star that you have on the team right now. So at least on the offensive side of things. So yeah, I expect Randy to be good. I mean, I really don't have any reason to expect anything less from him. I think he's going to be a 3-win player. Upside for a 4-win season, sure. But yeah, I expect Randy to go back. He's going to hit, right around 240, 250 at least, probably 340, 350 on base. And he's probably going to slug, 450, 25 homers, 25 stolen bases, and some maddeningly bad routes in the outfield that might cost you a run or two that he's going to have to make up for. And that's kind of what I expect from Randy. And Randy is Randy, he is Randy Land, and he's kind of his own guy, and he does things his own way. And I love that about him. Not enough to pay him, but yeah, it'll be a nice send off, hopefully, for Randy. And he'll be one of those, the Mariners top 50 players thing. He's on that list. I don't know if he's there yet, but if he has a good year this year, he probably is. I mean, that would be 2.5 really good years from Randy, and one of the better trades in Mariners history as well. So we'll see what his legacy ultimately ends up being. But for 2026, I'm pretty confident Randy's going to be just what he has been, which is a rock solid baseball player with the upside to carry you for weeks at a time, if not months at a time, as he did last year, just unfortunately not in the playoffs. It was more in the July stages that Randy carried. Although nobody had to carry the offense last year when Cal was hitting 60, but you get the point.
Right. Yeah. I wonder how much he was gassed towards the end of the season, because he played a career high in games. He really didn't get any days off. He played 160 games last regular season. And now I think the Mariners are built better, especially with some of the other guys that we're going to be talking about later on in the show, to give Randy some more time off of his feet. So hopefully they do that this year. Mm-hmm. Hopefully they keep him a bit fresher. There was a lot of weight put on his shoulders last year, specifically when he was put into the leadoff role, and he did okay in that role. Now there's going to be a different kind of weight put on his shoulders now that he's been pushed towards the middle of the lineup. Now he's kind of being tasked with making up for some of the lost power in the middle of the lineup with the departures of Eugenio Suarez and Jorge Polanco. But in general, it's kind of like the Brendan Donovan thing, where it's just like, I kind of know who Randy Arozarena is. I feel pretty good about what we're going to get out of him. We're going to get 25 to 30 home runs. We're going to get 25 to 30 stolen bases. We're going to get 30-ish doubles. Like, that's what Randy's going to do.
Mm-hmm. I do think it's important, though. Like you said, you got to get him off his feet. Like, not DH days either, full days off. We talked about this at the end of last year. You had Randy, Julio, Cal, and JP. They never got a day off. And, some guys surged at the end of the year. Some guys really sputtered at the end of the year. And now this year, there's really no excuse for that to happen. You have the depth, especially in the outfield, because we're about to talk about that depth, at least as the roster stands now. Trades could happen, injuries could happen, but you do have the ability to give Randy days off, as in like 10 to 15 at least during the season instead of 2. And you should take advantage of that, because you need Randy to be at his best. You need him to be fresh at the end of the year. And just like we talked about with the bullpen, some of the guys, they didn't have much left because they played every single game of 2026, basically.
And it's not just the four. And it's not just the 4 other guys that we're going to be talking about on today's show. It's also Brendan Donovan could be part of that, especially once, Colt Emerson comes up, and there might be more opportunities for Donovan to go out into the outfield. All right, coming up, we will announce our new project that we're going to need your help with, and then we'll get into the rest of our outfield preview in just a moment. But first, a reminder, this episode of the Locked On Mariners podcast is brought to you by FanDuel. Ever wanted to experience the NBA Finals live and in person? Then I have great news for you. FanDuel is giving you the chance to turn that dream into reality with their NBA sweepstakes. Here's how it works. All you have to do is use your profit boost on any NBA future, and you'll automatically be entered for a shot to win an NBA Finals trip for 2. I'm talking flights, tickets, the whole experience. So if you're already looking at the board and thinking about which team can make a deep run, this is the perfect time to lock it in, because now not only can you pick cash, but it can also send you to the NBA Finals. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. Use your profit boost on an NBA future and get entered for your chance to win a trip to the NBA Finals. Play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. And you're listening to the Locked On Mariners podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thank you so much for making us your first listen for all things Mariners. And also thank you for making Locked On the #1 sports podcast network. Baseball is back, and you can lock in by joining the Everydayer Club, which gets you ad-free episodes and access to our group chat on Discord. For the next week or so, you can use the promo code SPRING, that's SPRING, for a free month. Go to lockedonmariners.supercast.com or tap the link in the show notes to learn more. And today, our Mariners fan survey that we've been conducting over the last couple of weeks officially closed. We want to thank all 1,100 plus of you that participated. Thank you so much for doing that. We will be reacting to the results of that survey on a future episode of Locked On Mariners. But we need your help with something else now. We have another project that we're kicking into high gear starting today. And Colby, tell them all about it. What are we doing?
Yeah, so somewhat accidentally, today is the deadline to vote for the top 50 Mariners of all time. But obviously, it's the Mariners' 50th season, and Ty and I wanted to do something for it, and we wanted to involve you guys. So instead of top 50 Mariners players, we're holding a NCAA March Madness style bracket for the 50 best moments in Mariners history. So Ty and I have selected 50 moments, technically 51 moments to compete for the prize, of which there is nothing that you gain from it. But it's an interesting bracket. There are 14 bye weeks or bye seeds. So there's a top 14, and then there's a first round bracket, which we're going to launch to you guys, and we'll go through all the matchups next week, probably on Tuesday. But first, we need to decide who wins the play-in game. Of course, those are a big part of the NCAA tournament. Who doesn't want to, pick Oakland or Wright State to go get demolished by Duke?
I mean, they also have the 11 seed matchups now in the play-ins.
Sure,
where it's like UCLA versus St. Mary's or whatever.
Sure, I don't know where this falls, but anyway, so we're doing a NCAA style bracket. The full first round we will break down, and we will unveil the entire bracket, or the entire first round of the bracket, to you guys next week. But for now, we need you to pick the play-in winner, and we have two moments here that are going head-to-head to get into the field of 50. So there's a link down in the description. Just click it. It's the same as the Google form that you filled out for the fan survey. We don't need any information. Just click a button, hit submit. That's all you need to do. In this matchup, just for fun, it is a matchup that is the Dylan Moore Grand Slam against the Astros. You guys remember that one, I'm sure. Or the combined no-hitter, the six-man no-hitter against the Dodgers. So one of those teams will advance. And should I tell them who they'll play in round one, or should we keep that? We'll keep that a surprise, I think.
No, tell them who they're playing in round one.
Sure. The winner of this matchup will, and this is a little bit of a teaser, will go up against Cal Raleigh, winning the 2025 Home Run Derby. So it's going to be a tough first round, but see if they get in the tournament. So Dylan Moore's Grand Slam against the Astros, Brooks Raley, I believe, to be more specific, or the six-man no-hitter against the Los Angeles Dodgers. I believe D. Gordon making the final out of that game, if I'm not mistaken. So started by Kevin Millwood. So anyways, go vote on that. Click the link. And then, next week, Ty and I will unveil the rest of the bracket, and we will go through the matchups one through one pretty quickly, just to make sure you guys understand, like, hey, this is the moment we're talking about, this specifically right here, in case there's any confusion there. But should be fun. And we'll be doing that throughout March, obviously, right up until opening day. Well, probably before then, but it'll be probably about a show a week where we break down the new matchups and let you guys vote. And it's all up to you. You guys decide. Ty and I don't really get a vote. But I think we know who the winner is going to be, but maybe somebody wants some new blood. I don't know. Build a coalition. Who knows?
So getting back into our outfield preview for 2026, let's get into the first of two platoons in the outfield, starting with Dom Canzone, who's probably going to be one half of primarily a DH platoon with Rob Refsnyder, but of course both of those guys can also go out into the outfield when you need them to. Dom Canzone was kind of on the fringes of just seeing his time in Seattle end, right? And then he gets called up, and he hits that home run against the Diamondbacks, and he is just off to the races. Puts up a 1.5 F4 season. He slashes 300, 358, 481 with 11 bombs. Had some big moments over the course of the 2025 season, and then disappeared when the playoffs started. But still, Dom Canzone was a revelation in 2025.
He was. Ty still won't take the L.
Yeah. The question is, did we see the real Dom Canzone show up in October?
No. Oh, in October?
Yeah.
I mean, even then, no. That was one of the worst stretches I've ever seen in my life. So, no, I don't think Dom Canzone is the worst baseball player I've ever watched. So, yeah, I also don't think he's a 300 hitter who's going to put up a 140 WRC plus. I think that's where he ended at 140.
141, yeah.
Yeah, I don't think we're going to see that. By the way, that home run in Arizona, I watched it yesterday, along with some playoff game highlights. Quite a difference. That home run was 116.9 off the bat and went 450 feet. And Ty still wouldn't take the L. But anyways, back to Canzone.
I've taken the L now.
Yeah, it's a big year for Dom. I mean, there's really nothing preventing him from getting 400, 450, maybe 500 plate appearances. I would hope primarily at DH, but obviously he'll have to play some corner outfield along the way. But yeah, it's kind of a make or break year for him. He's in his late 20s now. I mean, he does have a couple options left, so it's not like if he struggles, you just DFA him. You just send him down. But, this is kind of the year. You either have to claim an everyday job or at least, a primary job, or you're just going to be a 4A player who, you hope kind of catches fire every once in a while and you can ride a hot streak and then send back down. So it's a big year for Dom. We know he's not going to give you much defensively. He'll make the play. I have a name for this type of play, but I don't want to embarrass the person it's named after. So not that they're listening, but whatever. The play that's like, oh yeah, it's a semi-difficult play, but they make it look significantly harder than it actually is. Dom makes a lot. Those are his defensive highlights. But we know he can mash. He can absolutely, hit missiles out of that ballpark, out of any ballpark. There's going to be some ugly swings. That's just part of his game. He's going to get fooled. Yeah. He's going to have some ugly swings. He's going to run like a baby giraffe.
He's a baby giraffe, but he's our baby giraffe.
Right. But the power is legitimate. It is insane power. And also, he doesn't really strike out all that much for the amount of power that he generates. And in the minors, he hits lefties. He's hit lefties really well. And last year in the majors, for at least a little while, he hit lefties well too. So, I mean, it's not even a guarantee that he's definitely a platoon guy. This is a big year for him. If he can, maybe not repeat what he did last year, but if he can go, 250, 330, 450, 480, hit 20 home runs and 500 plate appearances, then I think you feel comfortable penciling him in, maybe as the Randy Arozarena replacement. I mean, honestly, defensively, it's not all that different. So yeah, maybe he forces his way onto that roster, and you have him for another 4 years after this year if he hits. So it really is a big opportunity for Dom to not only prove that he's a major leaguer, but to kind of force his way into the plans of the future for the Seattle Mariners, or at the very least for another club who maybe wants to trade for him because they see the upside and all that. But yeah, I think it'll be important for Dom to get off to a good start. Sometimes these guys pop in their late 20s. I mean, Brent Rooker, Josh Donaldson, it happens. It happens sometimes. And Canzone, there's really good metrics on batted ball data, the approach, the swing and miss. While they're ugly, there's not a ton of it. Canzone, this is a big year for him. And if he's kind of one of those, we'll probably do this episode later in the month of March. But we talk about kind of those, what do we call them? Swing players. Yeah. It's like, if he's really good, sky's the limit. If he's really bad, could get dicey. So we'll see how it goes. But yeah, Canzone, I'm interested to watch. I really don't have any expectation for him, though. It's going to be tough. I want to see what he's got, and then we'll reassess after, a month or two.
Yeah, so it's actually 3 years left of club control after this year. The most impressive thing, and you mentioned this earlier, the most impressive thing from his 2025 season really was how he did against lefties. He had 276 against them. It was an above league average hitter against lefties. And, again, it's only 68 plate appearances, but still, like, there was nothing that suggested that he could hit lefties in his past. He had struggled against them down in the minors. He had struggled against them in his limited, appearances in the majors. And then he comes up and, he was a viable everyday option for really the entire regular season. And then of course the playoffs happened, and then he wasn't good against anyone. Quite a few Mariners weren't good against anyone in the playoffs, though, to be fair. But
it's true.
Yeah, he's fascinating to me. I don't really know what version we're going to get, because again, we have very two extreme ends of the spectrum of sample sizes of Dom Canzone. And it's like, is there a middle ground? What is the middle ground? Is that something that he actually finds, or is it just going to be back to one extreme end of the spectrum or the other?
Yeah, it's, I think there's two sample sizes of bad Dom Canzone and really good Dom Canzone are roughly the same size too. It's kind of a wild occurrence, but we'll see how it goes. I mean, again, like if he's legit, I mean, maybe not 140, but if he's 120, which he kind of has to be to have a ton of value because he's mostly a DH or a bad outfielder. But you want to talk about, a 1 through 5 or a 9 through 5 in a lineup. Now we're talking about a 9 through 6, and then your 7 and 8 spots are going to be determined by a couple of like really high ceiling, high profile guys who have either been big leaguers who have really hit or top prospects who we think will hit. Like talking about a really good lineup if Dom Canzone can put together some facsimile of the season he had last year over the course of 162.
Yeah, so it's 370 plate appearances that say he's a below league average hitter. Mm-hmm. And then it's 268 plate appearances that say that he's left-handed Brent Rooker.
Yeah.
So
I love Brent Rooker.
So I don't know who Dom Canzone is, but I'm looking forward to hopefully finding that out in 2026.
Hopefully early.
Yeah. So let's talk about his platoon partner. Now, again, Canzone was really good against lefties and, a very small sample size last year. So maybe he doesn't really need a platoon partner, but it seems like he's going to start out with one. Though. Yeah. Does seem like he's going to start out with one, though, with Rob Refsnyder, who was by far the most surprising addition the Mariners made all winter long. It really just came out of nowhere. Mm-hmm. We had talked about this role being something that the Mariners should address, having a better right-handed hitting option off of your bench. Better than Mitch Garver, because that's kind of the role that Garver was fulfilling outside of being your backup catcher last year. And Refsnyder, coming off of a great turnaround for his career after he got to Boston. This past year in 138 plate appearances against lefties, he had 302 with a 159 WRC plus. Refsnyder probably going to be your leadoff hitter against lefties, with Brendan Donovan being the leadoff guy against righties. So he's in kind of a couple of platoons, right? He's in a position platoon with, Raley and Canzone, and then he's in a leadoff platoon with Donovan, seemingly. Now that hasn't been confirmed, so it's possible we're wrong on that. And the first time we see Refsnyder in the Mariners lineup, he's hitting 6. But it does seem like that would make the most sense for them to have him hit leadoff against lefties. But yeah, Refsnyder, I mean, he gives the Mariners an element that they really haven't had for a little while. So I'm really excited about that and what that means for the health of this lineup over the course of a 162 game season.
Yeah, it's funny that we're talking about this today. Himbo. I don't know how to pronounce his last name. I'm sorry, Paul.
Yeah.
You guys know ESPN, also
Himba Kitties.
Himba Kitties, I don't know, but whatever. He tweeted this morning and he tagged us in it. Left-handed pitchers last year, they had a 98 WHIP plus, which is the best mark they've had since 1949, and they had a 92 ERA plus or whatever. That's the best since 1924. They accumulated 142.3 FWAR last year across the entire league. That's the most ever. So left-handed pitching is, by a lot of accounts, at its peak right now. And the Mariners went out and they got Rob Refsnyder, who from 2022 to 2025 has posted a 155 WRC plus against left-handed pitching. 55% better than league average against lefties. Yeah, the Mariners have tried to find a guy to fill this role in the past. It hasn't worked particularly well, but even when they tried it with like the Pollocks of the world, none of the guys they picked were as good at it as Rob Refsnyder is. This guy destroys left-handed pitching. And, when you look at how many lefties the Angels throw at you, obviously, Jeffrey Springs of Sacramento, not many or any lefties, I think, in the Houston rotation now, but you also think about having to face Max Fried and Garrett Crochet, and Framber Valdez is still in Tarek Skubal, obviously. Like, yeah, there are a lot of big lefties, and having a guy that you trust to absolutely crush left-handed. I mean, essentially, the dude is, not exactly. The dude is somewhere between like Cal Raleigh and Bryce Harper against left-handed pitching.
Sure.
We'll see what happens with him. But yeah, I mean, I think Canzone will get some at-bats against lefties, and maybe that's Refsnyder gets, a start against a lefty, and you give Josh Naylor a day off. They did talk about him playing some first base. So I think there's days where both Canzone and Refsnyder will be in the lineup, but I do think that if there's a lefty on the mound, they're going to try very hard to find a spot for Refsnyder. And if the only guy they want to take out of the line, or the only guy that kind of fits that day, is Canzone, even if Canzone's swinging the bat well, they'll sit him down. Like, you have to give this guy his at-bats as often as you can, and he's going to have to get some at-bats against righties. Like, you just can't wait for there to be you can't wait 10 days for there to be a lefty on the mound and be like, well, now you get to start. Can't Donovan Solano this guy. All right. Let's get him in the lineup. Let's see him play. Even if it doesn't line up this way schedule-wise, you probably need at least 2 starts a week, even if you're not facing a lefty that week. Find a way to get him a start and keep him fresh. And he's not terrible against righties, but he just destroys left-handed pitching, and that's what you brought him in to do, and you paid him pretty well to do it. So he'll definitely have a long leash here, but I think this is it was definitely the most surprising. It literally was announced by the club without any kind of fanfare. But also kind of one of those sneaky little deals that you look back at and you're like, man, obviously getting Naylor was the big one, and Donovan was, but like, man, that Refsnyder signing, that's the good stuff right there. So we'll see how it goes for him. But expectations for Rob Refsnyder: destroy left-handed pitching. Anything else you give me is a bonus.
So we'll wrap up our outfield preview with the other platoon. But is it a platoon? We'll talk about that in just a moment. But first, a reminder: this episode of the Locked On Mariners podcast is brought to you by Indeed. Hiring isn't just about finding someone willing to take the job. It's about finding the right person with the right background who can actually help your business move forward. And if you want candidates who match what you're looking for, Indeed Sponsored Jobs is the move. Because instead of hoping the right person stumbles across your post, Indeed helps you match with quality candidates by boosting your job listing to the people who fit your specific criteria, like skills, certifications, and location. If I were hiring, I wouldn't just want someone who can help. I'd want someone with real experience who can jump right in. That's what I like about Indeed. You can get specific and target exactly what you need. It saves time because you're spending less energy sorting through mismatches. And with sponsored jobs, your post gets seen by candidates who are actually a fit. And here's a stat that says it all. In the minute I've been talking to you, companies like yours made 27 hires on Indeed, according to Indeed data worldwide. So if you're hiring, spend less time searching and more time interviewing candidates who check all your boxes with Indeed Sponsored Jobs. Listeners of the show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to help you get your job the premium status it deserves at Indeed.com/podcast. That's Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Hiring. Do it the right way with Indeed. And you're listening to the Locked On Mariners podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. As always, if you want to hear from me and Colby even more and help support the show, we have a Patreon. It's called Control the Zone. And on there, we talk Mariners, Seahawks, all that good stuff. For more information, go to patreon.com/Control the Zone. Link in the description of this episode. So we just talked about the one projected platoon that the Mariners have with a couple of their outfielders with Dom Canzone and Rob Refsnyder, but they also have another platoon with a couple of other outfielders, and that would be Luke Raley and Victor Robles. But Colby, is that actually going to be a platoon between Robles and Raley?
I'm going to say it shouldn't be, but not in the way I think most people are thinking. Victor Robles should not be given regular playing time. He should be the true fourth outfielder. Now, in that role, you're going to play. Like, obviously, I'm not suggesting Victor sits 6 times a week. Like, he's going to start some games in center field. You're going to give Julio days off. You're going to give Randy some days off. But Luke Raley should get a bulk. He should be the starter, right? And he should play every single game against right-handed pitching, at least for the first couple of weeks, if not months of the season. Give him a chance to reestablish himself. People forget Luke Raley was pretty much, sealing Dom Canzone for 2 years in a row before he got hurt last year. So, I don't think Victor Robles is a very good hitter. I mean, you take away the 2-month stretch where he was one of the best on the planet, and you look at the other 6 years of his career, mediocre hitter. I mean, good defender, good base stealer, but just doesn't hit. He doesn't hit, and Luke Raley probably will. And so I think there shouldn't be much of a platoon here. I think honestly, you could sell me on Refsnyder actually being Raley's platoon partner. Canzone plays almost exclusively every day.
That's
and
what
Robles
I was going
is
to
kind
say,
of the roaming fourth outfielder. Like I think this is a case where it's like there might be a platoon here, but you can't just attach Victor Robles and Luke Raley together because one's a righty and one's a lefty. Not to mention Robles hasn't been good against lefties for a little while.
I mean, he's like career-wise, he's been better against lefties than he's been against righties, but it's an 84 WRC plus against righties and a 101 WRC plus against lefties. So he's been essentially a league average bat against lefties, which is fine, but that's not like he's not a lefty crusher though.
No.
So he's not necessarily like the ideal guy to be, a weak side platoon partner.
No. Victor's ideal role, unless he can prove that he can hit anywhere close to like he did in 2024, which again, based on his entire career outside of that stretch, he can't. We have no evidence to suggest he can. He should be the fourth outfielder. He should be the guy that gives Julio his 1 day off a week playing center. He should be the guy that gives Randy his 1 day off a week playing left. And he should, be a guy who fills in here and there when, I don't know, Luke has a sore back or whatever. All right, well, Victor, you're in the lineup today. Like, again, I'm not saying you don't play Victor, and you can still give him 3 games a week without really, sacrificing playing time from anybody else because he can play all 3 outfield spots. But I really think Robles is unfortunately, I think the Mariners are going to try and force him to be the everyday right fielder instead of Luke Raley. And I think it's for the worst reason. I think it's because they don't want 4 or 5 lefties in a row at the bottom of their lineup, which is just stupid. But the Mariners really care about handedness. So I think on opening day, Victor Robles, even though they'll be facing Gavin Williams, I would assume.
Yeah.
I think he'll be in the lineup hitting 7th instead of Luke Raley, which is asinine. But I think they're going to do it because I don't think they want Canzone, Raley, Young, and JP, the 4 lefties, and then obviously Donovan at the top, 5 lefties in a row. I don't think they're going to want to do that. And again, I think that's stupid because if they bring in a tough lefty out of their bullpen in the 7th, oh no, I have to go to Rob Refsnyder. like, what are we complaining about? So I really hope I'm wrong, but the Mariners really do care about handedness. They always try to break it up right, left. That was a thing under Scott Service. It's been a thing under Dan Wilson. So I fear that Robles will be the guy in right field. And look, if Victor takes the job and he just runs with it, fine, whatever, give it to him. I don't care.
Yeah.
But to start the year, Luke Raley is a guy who actually has been a very good major league hitter for more than a 2-month stretch in his entire career. He did it back-to-back years in 2 different organizations. He's also a guy who rakes at T-Mobile Park. That is rare. He's also a guy who's going to make, $1.5 million this year? You have to play this guy. And if it doesn't work and it turns out it is just, kind of a weird thing where the cliff came for him, then you can just DFA him, see if he clears waivers, do that in June.
Right.
But until then, until you're sure this guy can't hit anymore, he should play every day because honestly, he's not that bad of a defender either. He can also play all 3 outfield spots. You don't really want him in center field, but he can manage it for a day or 2. He runs very well. He's got just insane power, probably, I don't know, top 5 raw power on the team. And also, he's the great bunter. If you're going to bunt as much as you are, Dan, don't you want somebody who's good at it to do it?
Yeah.
Apparently not last year. He didn't. Let's have Victor Robles bunt. He sucks at it. Luke Raley's a really good bunter. Remember when they pinch hit Victor Robles for Luke Raley to lay down a sacrifice bunt against a righty?
I'm cutting this off at the pass. I know you're getting on a roll. No. We're not doing this. We're not doing this today. We're not doing this today.
The point is, right, all the evidence in the world suggests that Luke Raley is a better Major League Baseball player than Victor Robles, and the Mariners should treat it as such. I don't think they're going to, but I think they should.
So the question for me with Raley is, does he have everything figured out with like his vision and all that? Because he was like really just like caught in between all last year, in 2025 with like, am I going to wear glasses? I'm going to not wear glasses. Hopefully he has that all figured out. I mean, again, for 2 years straight, he was a 129 WRC plus guy without, I guess, being able to pick up spin. But, last year he was trying to, experiment with things, and then he gets hurt, and he was never comfortable. There was never a time in 2025 where Luke Raley was comfortable. So, finding that comfort again, that's really the key for Raley in 2026. And then Robles, it's just like, who are you? Right? It's kind of like the Dom Canzone thing. It's like, what are you actually going to bring to the table? Because we talked about this last year leading into the season before Robles basically had his entire season taken away from him. Like, clearly you're not the guy that exploded for those 2 months, even though you made some changes and all that stuff like that. Like, there's going to be some regression because that was just insane. He was one of the 3 best hitters in Major League Baseball, from the time that he was picked up by the Mariners until the end of the season in 2024. So there's going to be some regression, but is the new version of Victor Robles like a 110, 115 WRC plus guy, with pretty good defense? Because that's an everyday player. Yeah. But, or is he, the 80 to 90 ish WRC plus guy that he was for most of his time in Washington, which that's a fourth outfielder. Yeah. So, we'll see. The Mariners are built in a way where they can give all these guys ample opportunity this year, and it works and it makes sense. Yeah. So we'll find out, and I'm really looking forward to finding that all out. And look, again, if Robles is like a 110, 115 WRC plus guy, and that's like your 5th outfielder technically on your roster, you're in a really good spot. All right, well, that's going to do it for our show. Thank you so much for joining us here on the Locked On Mariners podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Once again, if you never miss an episode, it's time to make it official. Join the Locked On Everydayer Club and get ad-free audio, access to our members-only Discord, and more, all built for our most loyal fans. For Colby Patnode, I'm Titan Gonzalez. Be sure to give us a follow on Twitter at @LO_Mariners. You can follow me at Titan Gonzalez and Colby at CPAT11 and CPAT11. We're also on Blue Sky. You can follow me at TDG, Colby at MLB Colby, and the show at Locked On Mariners. You can also find us on Instagram at Locked On Mariners. Now head on over to the Locked On MLB channel to check out a new show called Back to the Bullpen, hosted by former reliever Mike Stanton and Locked On Astros host Brett Chansey. The first episode premiered today, and we'd love for you to check it out. Have yourself a beautiful baseball day, and we'll see you next time. Peace.